Thank you, Presiding Officer. I am pleased to have the opportunity to lead this debate to raise awareness of brain tumours following the Wear a Hat Day on March 31st. And I thank members from across every party who have supported my motion allowing the debate to go ahead. And I welcome the Minister to her role, because I believe this is her first members' debate that she's responding to. I also thank the Brain Tumour Charity for its continued work to raise awareness of brain tumours, in supporting those impacted by brain tumours and their families, in raising vital funds for brain tumour research as well. And I applaud their campaign, It's the Better Safe Than Tumour, which aims to support the public in awareness of signs and symptoms of brain tumours. And I welcome Thomas Brayford from the Brain Tumour Charity to the gallery this evening. Brain tumours are the largest killer by cancer of children and adults under the age of 40 in the UK. And brain tumours reduce life expectancy by an average 20 years, which is the highest figure for any cancer that we currently know of. There are a number of brain tumour signs and symptoms depending on the type of brain tumour and its location. And my motion notes that there are more than 130 different types of tumour of the brain. Some symptoms may be very severe or may not be apparent at all. And if you're experiencing signs and symptoms that are concerning you, the first step would be to visit your GP to discuss these, and they can advise further. Brain tumour symptoms can include headaches, which are more severe in the morning and wake you in the night. They're usually different from headaches that you might have had previously and will be persistent and worsen with time. Weakness, loss of sensation or numbness. This is also a sign of pressure on or damage to a specific part of the brain and can also be manifested through walking unsteadily or lack of coordination. Ataxia or muscle weakness on one side of the body, which is hemiparesis. Hearing loss could be a sign of acoustic neuroma if it occurs only on one side. And speech difficulties may also include the loss of ability to write, speak or understand words. And a person may have difficulty getting the words out, which is expressive dysphagia, or they might have difficulty articulating them, which is dysarthria. And other symptoms can include a lack of concentration, confusion, memory loss, disorientation, drowsiness and change in behaviour. And while the cause of brain tumours is debated, research does show that certain genetic conditions that predispose a person to overproduction of certain cells and the exposure to some forms of radiation, these are key causes. And in my time in the operating theatre in Los Angeles, I had the privilege of working with a neurosurgeon called Dr. Keith Black. Keith Black is now the chair of neurosurgery at Cedars-Sinai Medical Centre, and that's where research does continue. He was a pioneer in developing the surgery that we now know as awake craniotomy for the removal of particular brain tumours that occur in the speech centre of the brain. And there are some amazing awake craniotomy surgeries on YouTube for anybody that's no squeamish that wants to watch them, for demonstrating how far we have come in developing advanced surgery techniques. And around 60% of people diagnosed with a high-grade brain tumour will die within 1 year, and only 19% will survive for 5 years or more. Brain tumours are one of the 4 cancers with a 10-year survival rate of less than 15%. My Auntie Jean was one, and she didn't survive following a diagnosis of astrocytoma, and she wasn't even 50 years old. So we must see this change, Presiding Officer. Early diagnosis remains a unique challenge for brain tumours, with estimates suggesting that up to 64% of patients are diagnosed via an emergency department. That's quite a high number. And we must acknowledge that the pandemic has seen many patients face disruption to their care, to clinics, to appointments and treatments such as surgery or chemotherapy. And while the NHS took extensive steps to keep cancer services running, we heard that in most areas in Scotland, surgery for those living with low-grade or less aggressive brain tumours were delayed. And of course, the pandemic continues to have a huge impact on all aspects of our NHS. However, I would like to raise some of the asks of the Brain Tumour Charity. The charity asks the Scottish Government to ensure that everyone diagnosed can access support from a clinical nurse specialist or a key worker, regardless of their tumour type or where they live. And for the Scottish Government, they're also asking to drive earlier diagnosis by committing to reducing the proportion of brain tumours diagnosed in the A&E. and by piloting a promising new blood test developed by researchers at the University of Strathclyde in Edinburgh in primary care across Scotland as soon as possible, to explore its potential to triage those with possible symptoms, and to accelerate the access of real-world data for Scottish brain tumour patients. Cancer researchers and charities, including through Brian, which is a brain tumour charity's patient-led app. And we also are asking, the Brain Tumour Charity are also asking to ensure that brain tumour research and development of treatments and therapies is equitable to that of other cancers. Indeed, it is welcome that the First Minister has given a commitment to ensure that brain tumour detection is improved in Scotland to give people the best possible opportunity of recovery, including through fast-track diagnostic centres, including the one opened in Dumfries and Galloway in my South Scotland region in 2021. Presiding Officer, finally I want to touch on Alan and Annika Johnston. Annika died on the 18th of November 2019 due to a short battle with glioblastoma. And I knew Annika. She was kind, caring, compassionate dietitian within NHS Dumfries and Galloway. We worked together when I was a clinical educator. She gave me lots of advice for patients with complex dietary needs, and she supported me as I was developing training for the nurses. Since she's passed, her husband Alan has raised over £57,000 for the Brain Tumour Charity by walking 214 miles of the Southern Upland Way. Wow, I didn't think I'd be upset. So in her memory, he's raised £57,000, and that's a challenge that he said was tough, but it's one which, in his words, it was easy in comparison to what Annika went through. So his charity fundraising was invaluable for research and development. So, Presiding Officer, in closing, I look forward to colleagues speaking. I repeat my ask of the Minister and thank Alan for his hugely important fundraising work and following his tragic loss. And I also repeat the message from brain tumour research to be better than tumour and to ensure symptoms are addressed urgently. Thank you.